What's up, tubers? Tio here, Simplistic Fishing. We are finally at the end of our lake breakdown for Lyndon B. Johnson. That is right. This will be our final video for the offshore hotspots for Lake Lyndon B. Johnson or Lyndon B. Johnson Reservoir, however you want to say it, or LBJ. I don't really care. But let's go ahead and let's finish this one up. Let's go. All right, well, let's go ahead and jump back into LBJ and do, I think, what will be our final offshore hotspots video. So if you haven't gone out and checked out our website, check it out, simplisticfishing.com. We're going to include all the waypoints, the offshore waypoints, as well as all the Google Earth waypoints that we talked about. Put them onto a card, and then you can import them into your graph. It'll make it really easy to identify everything that we've been talking about throughout this video series. So last time we went over the lake breakdown, we were right here on this submerged bridge. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to start there, and we're going to continue to work down the west side of this lake. We've already covered the east side. If you missed that video, just go look at the lake breakdowns playlist, and you'll be able to see all the videos we did for LBJ, plus like, I don't know, 50, 60 other lakes that we've already done. And we've broken down almost every lake in Texas on the website. So all kinds of good stuff there. Let's go ahead and get started. Let's go down this arm. Now, obviously, when you're going down these steeper bank lines, or really that's not even a steep bank line. It looks like that's just where the break is in the river channel. But right where you have those breaks, I talked about this in the last video as well, but anytime you have these little breaks where it breaks off a little bit, those are usually typically good areas to go look at. So like right in here, there's really nothing obvious about it, but it just kind of gets up shallow, and they'll set up here in these little shallow little areas. I didn't mark that one, but that would definitely be a good one to look at. You all got a little bit of a creek channel swing going on there too, so that might be worthy of looking at. Let's keep going down and see what else we can find down through here. Now we're coming down here. I didn't mark these, but these docks are going to be really good docks to fish. And the reason why they're going to be good docks to fish is you can tell the contour lines. See how tight the contour lines are right here? That means you've got a lot of depth right there. So you basically have these docks that come out. They're pretty shallow on the backside, but some of them hang out and get right over this edge. So all of them, I'd say, from like this dock right here to this dock right here, those have pretty good depth. These three don't look like they have that great a depth, but they're still going to be decent docks to fish just because they're right up against the creek channel here. But then if you look at these three docks right in here, they've got some depth on them, so they could definitely be some good docks to fish. And then, of course, we're going to come over here, and you're going to see a point, because I'm never going to say don't fish this, because this could be a really magical spot to fish right in here. Now, sometimes they'll be out here off the edges of these points. This one's really unique because it's got this creek channel that runs through here. That's what those dotted lines are that you see there. So you've got an inside break right here. That looks good. They could be up here feeding on the top of this thing. That could be just a money spot. You've also got the main river channel over here. I mean, everything about this spot right here tells me that I need to spend some time here. I mean, that just sets up a lot of good things setting up right there. You've got a really steep bank line right here. Again, you got a creek channel coming off here, running out here. You got an underwater point. I just can't say enough about that spot. I really like that spot from an offshore standpoint. Now, if we come out there, we come off that big turn, we come up in this cove, there's a good spot that's back here as well. It's just a submerged culvert, but it looks like there's a big deep well here, or something's going on. There's some kind of big deep spot. I don't know if this could be an old pond. There's just no telling what it is, but I like how that kind of sets up, and it's really close to this culvert. So I'd spend some time searching around here, searching around this old roadbed, especially right there where it gets a little bit deeper and then goes in a little hole, stuff around that, the edges of that. And then of course that culvert too could be something that might be holding some fish. So we're going to go past that good spot I was telling you about earlier. We're going to go down a little bit further, just kind of following the river channel. Next spot's going to be right in here. See if I can get this little thing to click off. Notice how the river channel's here. So I'm just following the river channel line, and I'm looking for any types of breaks or anywhere where it touches a point or anything. And if it ever does that, that's definitely where I want to start focusing on. So right in here is a really good spot as well. If I zoom in, you're going to notice there's a little underwater point that comes out. You got a little point in there. You got this nice little hump that's over here and this creek bed basically running right through it. You've got bridges over here. You've got a major creek channel coming this way, right where if you follow my little hand here, that's another creek channel going into this main river arm. So this submerged bridge could be good. The edges of these points could be good. Again, up in here could be good. There's a lot of good stuff. You probably just want to scan around a lot and just take a look at it. And there's times too when they're probably going to be up here on this big flat feeding and just roaming around and chasing shad and all that fun stuff. And that can be a great time to get out the top water and have to do some damage for sure. So let's go ahead and look over here as well. We've also got another submerged culvert right there. Nothing too special about it, not culvert, bridge. But the fact that it's a bridge and it's only in about 20 foot of water, that makes it definitely playable, in my opinion, to be a good spot. And of course, it's right over a major creek channel there, so that makes it even more promising. Now, these points on these main river arms, those are always going to be good as well. I didn't mark every single one of them. Of course, I can't do that because you'd have 1,000 marks on here. But look at these spots right in here. Like, see where it's pretty flat here, and then it gets to the sharp break. Like right in there is going to be a good spot to take a look at, right on the edges of this stuff. So I didn't mark it, but I would definitely go over there. If I was boating around there, I would go take a look at it. Now, as we move a little bit further down, we're over here by Sunrise Cove. That little point that comes out right here, the river channel slamming up against it, and that point is right here. This is going to be a really good point to fish and to scan around to see if you can find some fish. And then as you move a little bit closer in here into the cove, you've got a submerged bridge, so you could check that out. And I didn't mark it, but definitely would look right in here, like from this point over. And if it was wintertime, I may even get out here where it's a little bit deeper. So just some things to think about when you're back there in Sandy Creek. Another thing, when you're coming down here, I also marked another spot right in here. And I believe it says big catfish, but if you look at the contours here, this looks like it could be an old pond or something like that. It's definitely deeper than everything else around it. You're only 11 foot here, and then you turn into this really deep spot that's just right in this area. Well, wintertime and really late wintertime, that can be a good time to go over there and just see if anything is relating to those contours. It's pretty close to the river channel. In fact, that might even be a creek channel that runs right through there, which I think it is. It just runs up this way. It says it's a riverbed for Sandy Creek. So that's the riverbed. So that's a big hole in where the riverbed is. And pretty much, if you just imagine yourself being back in the river, you're going to stop and you're going to fish those places where you have a little bit of a bend, which you have a little bit of a bend here, and also those deeper holes. And that's probably why they caught the catfish there, because the catfish are probably there because the bait is there. It's going to be the same reason why the bass are going to be there. All right, so let's move on out of here and let's come out. Let's get a little bit more main lake since we're definitely talking offshore. The next spot would be right here. If you look at this point, it's got a roadbed that comes right out in front of it. Now, I don't know how good this would be, but I really like how this point sets up. I like how it sets up really close to the river channel too. So I would look there as well. Again, you're going to want to look at these spots. Anywhere where these points come out and touch the side of the river channel, you never know. You might be able to find a money spot just right on top of these little points that are there. So always look at those when you're out here. Now, it gets a lot deeper over in here. You can see all the contours where it's getting pretty deep. And then we're going to go over here to where this little pin is. And I'm just going to zoom in here and show you guys this. I don't know what the heck that is. I don't know if that's I think it's an island, obviously. I don't know if these people own the island or if they built a bridge to the island or what's going on. But the outside edge of that island could be productive, because if you look right here, you can see that little darker black line. That's actually a roadbed that's just outside of that island. So go check that out. See if you can find any fish relating to that area. That could be a good spot. A lot of good things setting up there for that to be a pretty good spot to go look and fish. You want to look at the edge of these points too, like right here. Again, you've got a roadbed right off the edge of the point, so shallow, and then it breaks off to pretty deep pretty fast. So those are going to be good spots. Also right here off the edge of this point, kind of the same thing we were talking about again, really shallow, and then all of a sudden it has just a sharp break off the front of that point. So the front of that point would be a good area to look at least in my opinion. And then also over here, when you look at this little point that comes over here, it's pretty shallow. It's only 6 foot, and it looks like it may even come up to 5 or 4 foot here at the very top of it. But get out off the edge of this thing and it has some pretty decent breaks. It's got some pretty good drops. So I can see them hanging out here at certain parts of the year. It's got a creek bed that's pretty close to it, which is right in here. So they could easily just be hanging out here and staging before they go maybe to the next point or to that culvert or something like that. All right, so let's pull out of there, show you guys where I'm at. I'm about right in here, and we're going to keep just moving on down. The next spot is going to be out here. There's a couple humps that are out here. See this spot right here? You can tell it's a hump, one, because just the color that I'm using, but it's 16 foot at the top. It's got a sharp break off the side of it, and it's got that nice creek channel that's causing that break. So you've got a hump here at 16 foot. You've also got another hump over here that I could have marked for you that was at 13 foot. So you definitely want to look at both of these humps. If one's on, they're both probably going to be on, and then you can really just have a heyday fishing those two spots. Now, also down in here, you got another good little point that comes out. It's got a road bed on top of it. It's only about 6 foot on the top of it, but then it has nice breaks on the inside here. So you'll want to look at that and see if you can find anything in that area. Moving on down, we go down the river channel. Now we're going to get right into this area, and there's a little underwater point. You can see it right here. It looks like it's coming off of a pond dam. So this is probably a pond. That's the old dam or something like that. It kind of looks like that. But then it's like its own little point that just sticks out a little bit farther than everything else. Now, it's not a high percentage area to find some fish. I mean, you may have a higher percentage looking over here on this little point where you have a break on a road bed. But sometimes these little spots like this, they just seem to produce much better. And I think it's because they don't get pressured as much. Like this is more of an obvious spot. A lot of the spots that we've been talking about are more obvious spots, but this one, not so much. So definitely go check that out and check out these spots where you get it really, really deep right up against these walls. Those are always great places to fish. Those are going to be good docks to fish as well. All right, so we're going to move on up here. Let's see if I can show you guys where I'm at. I'm just northwest of the power plant. When I get over here off the edge of this point, again, the same type thing. You got an underwater point. So I'd be scanning this whole entire point, see where they're at. Odds are they're either going to be up in here really, really close to where that first break is, or they're going to be out here off the edges. Really, I guess there's no good odds. You don't know where they're going to be, but they're going to be somewhere in that vicinity. And then when you get out here, you got that nice long extended point that comes out here. That's going to be a good spot to look at as well. You can see the nice little breaks that are over here by the creek bed, the nice top that it has. Let's see on that top right there, it's 15 feet. So that's just wonderful for, at least for me, from a bass fishing perspective. That's a really good depth to be fishing in. All right, so let's go down and let's see what else we can find down in here. We're in Pecan Creek. I'm going to go down to the bottom. First part's going to be right here where this point is. Just a really good point, shallow point, sets up pretty good. You got a creek bed over here as well, so some pretty good activity in the area. As you move up, you've got this flooded timber that's right here on that secondary point. I really like that. I like how the river channel comes in here, or the creek channel, and it swings this way, so it's swinging and hitting this point. So you've got a creek channel swing with a point with the flooded timber. I mean, that's good. That's a good combination for sure. Also, just right off the other edge of that point, same type thing. Creek bed, point, timber, all that good stuff. You've got a lot of good spots right in here. So I've marked all of them for you. You've got some culverts up here as well. I think that was actually, that one's actually a culvert there. And then right here, this is another one of those spots I just want you to take a look at. You hear me preach all the time, like, find where it gets really deep and then it starts to come shallow pretty quick. And that's usually a good spot to look, and that'd be right off the edge of that point right in there. Not sure how good it's going to be, but it's definitely a place that I would go look at. This point looks like it's isolated danger buoys. There could be rocks out there or whatever. I can't remember what we saw on Google Earth in this area, but fish around that stuff. If it's shallow and it's got any type of cover, you definitely want to fish it. It's a main lake point, so you want to take a look at it. Moving over here, we're going to get a little bit further over here. Again, just another point. This point's only about 6 or 7 foot on the top of it, so real shallow point. If you come out a little bit further off that point, if you scan up there and don't see anything, come out here and look around this roadbed and see if you can find anything as well. All right, so let's keep moving up. And again, if you're watching this video and you're like, oh, you missed this spot, there's a billion spots on this lake. It would take me forever to show you all of them, but hopefully the ones that I put out here will help you. And then if I miss some, you can at least pattern what I showed you to find new spots. So let's go over here. We're going around the major river turn here, right where the big turn is, right here at the top. We get out here, a couple things I want to show you. One, obviously, is this roadbed coming right over the top of this shallow point. That's going to be a good spot to look at. Also out here, it looks like there was some kind of a brush pile, so I want you guys to look at that as well, see if you can find anything out there. And then as we come a little bit further down, we've got these little underwater points. So really, like, real good shallow points that come out and really get into some pretty good breaks just right off the edges of them. So you've got one right here. You've got a roadbed that comes up and swings right in here. It all says a hazard area, but I mean, drop down the trolling motor and go to town, see what you can find. There's all kinds of cover in this area. I think this is going to be a really good area for you guys to find some stuff. And you know what? There's even a nice little hump that's out here too. So little point that comes out, you got a little pinch point right in here, a little saddle, and then you've got a nice hump right on the outside of it. You've got a lot of good stuff here from an offshore standpoint, not just from the points that I'm marking here where these breaks are, like there, and this little point here, but there's all kinds of other stuff in here as well. There's a roadbed that comes through here we talked about. And if you just follow that roadbed, here's another underwater point. They could be collecting right here in the middle, just the dead center of this cove. They could be over here on this hump. They could be up here on this point. They could be back here on those breaks. There's just a lot of different spots where they could be. But I love how this thing sets up. Would love for my lake to have this many offshore opportunities. All right, so we're going to get down here. We're down here by the Horseshoe Bay Lighthouse. Obviously, fishing around that is going to be good. That's a main lake area right there around the river bend. I'm going to swing up here and go over here and just point out this little point that's right here. Notice how we've got the riverbed that comes in around the main lake point. And it comes in here and it gets really sharp right in here, almost black, and then it's purple right beside it. That means shallow to deep really, really fast. So anywhere in here is going to be a good spot to look at. Also over here, I'm going to zoom in here. We've got some, what it says to be rocks that are right here on this little bend. So it's really deep right here, obviously, because the creek channel is coming right through here. And right on the bend where that creek channel is, there appears to be some rock there as well. And if you look just a little bit further over, you've got a couple road beds. So you could check those road beds out, see if any fish are related to those road beds. We're going to move up here to the Horseshoe Bay Yacht Club. We get up here again. Got some road beds out here, so check out these road beds. If you can find them, just take a few minutes and scan down them. You'd be surprised at some of the stuff that you can find. But right here, see where this really sharp contour is? I mean, it's 30. We're out here now, 40, 50 feet. But you've got some really sharp contours that are going on right in here. Really good break with a road bed. And then if you don't want to fish that deep, you could come up here and fish around this little hump that's out here. Obviously, you want to probably stay more on this side because they've got a little more cover over here with that roadbed and stuff. But fishing anywhere around it could be pretty good. Also, last point to show you here, at least in this area, I guess there's a couple more down here. I'll move it over. We got a good little point that's coming off right here. Again, pretty good breaks. Really good point. I guess it's a main lake point. I mean, essentially you get out there to the main lake, so you could call it a main lake point. Also right here where my little thumb is, if I zoom in there, there's also an underwater hump that's right here. So you got a saddle that's right here at 27 feet. And then you get to this marker where I have my marker. I can't get it to do it right now. And it comes up to, looks like about 24 or so feet, maybe somewhere in there. And then it breaks off again into like 40 something foot. So wintertime, instead of coming up here and looking up here, maybe pull back here and see if they're staging up or setting up on this little outside hump that's a little bit closer to the deeper water so they can break off to the deeper water. Again, moving over here, we've got another hump. All these humps are going to be good, especially like summertime, late spring, early summer, all summer. Humps can just be a great place, especially when you find these humps that have these creek channels. These little dotted lines you see here are creek beds. And so this hump is literally split by these two creek beds. That's going to be a good spot to fish. At some point in time in the year, that's going to be a really good spot to fish. Also over here, you got the same thing, another hump really close to a creek bed. Super big drop-offs, drops off to 40 feet. The hump's at 17 feet. You got more breaks back here, creek bed, swinging up against. Something's going on right in here because you can tell by the breaks, and it's right there on a creek channel turn or bend. So you've got the creek channel bend going on right here, and you've got some pretty good depth going on back in there as well. So another just good spot to take a look at. If I zoom it out, you can really see how that creek channel is really digging in right there around that area. So you're going to have some ledges or something good to fish right in that spot. Also up here, like we talked about, same type thing. It's creating a really good ledge right in that area. So we've got some road beds up here as well with some rock on them. Zoom in here and show them to you. Here's the first road bed here. It's got some rock out here, and almost like a little hump that's out here. And then over here again, another hump with a road bed. You know, these don't look as good as the other ones because the other ones literally had creek beds that were running right up against them. But these could still be productive main lake humps that you could fish again, you know, out in the late spring and then pretty much all summer long. Those could be really productive areas. And so really, as we get down here, it pretty much finishes up on LBJ. I don't see any more points that I had down in here. Not to say that there aren't any good offshore spots. This point probably gets fished some as well, but I just didn't see anything that really stood out to me when I got down in this area that I would say, you know, definitely go look at. Obviously, you've got some major breaks and stuff like that that you could go check out, but nothing really stood out to me too much in that area, so I didn't mark anything for you there. So I hope you guys have learned a lot, hopefully learned a lot about your local lakes. If you're a local watching this video, hopefully this will help you find and catch more fish offshore. For those of you that are new to offshore fishing, hopefully this will kind of help you understand the kind of areas that you need to be looking at to fish offshore. Remember, these offshore hotspots, they're really not all season, right? So you've got to make sure you're fishing the right areas to make these really effective. Go out, check out our site, simplisticfishing.com, and please, if you can, click that link for Omnia Fishing in my description. They're a partner of ours. They're wonderful. Right now, they're running a promo, actually December 5th through the 12th, where they're giving their premium membership a credit for it. So basically, you buy the premium membership at $29.99. They credit you $29.99 back. What that does gives you free shipping all year long. Plus, every time you purchase something on their site, you get a 10% store credit. So it's wonderful. Go check them out, omniafishing.com. Until next time, guys, I hope you catch your PB.